Hi, and welcome to another episode of Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. So, how do lawyers get paid? Well, there are various systems uh, for lawyers and law firms to make money. And uh, the system often depends on what kind of law the lawyer or law firm is engaging in. So, for instance, you could, in a very broad generalization, you could have a plaintiff's law firm or a defense law firm. And plaintiff's law firms generally represent unsophisticated individuals who um, may have been injured and are pursuing a personal injury case, or they have some sort of maybe a criminal defense matter. They need somebody to defend them against some sort of criminal charge, or maybe they have small business matters that need to be taken care of. I don't know, incorporation or um, preparing business meeting minutes. Um, maybe it's tax related. Lawyers can also do tax work. And then those sorts of plaintiffs' firms, generally speaking, there's the main way of getting paid is through the contingency fee for a personal injury case. And what that is the lawyer's recovery is contingent upon a settlement of that personal injury case or a trial and verdict in the injured person's favor. And the lawyer takes a cut of that settlement or that verdict once it's collected. And typically, the plaintiff's attorney or plaintiff's law firm takes a 1/3 fee. That's the maximum usually allowed by state law. Um, in some circumstances, it might be less than that because state law won't let them take a full third. Maybe they only lets them take some smaller percentage than that, maybe 20%, because maybe it's dealing with a minor child, or court rules can vary with regard to the amount of the contingency fee. But generally speaking, it's a third. So what happens? The plaintiff's firm uh, uh, gets this client who was injured, and they litigate the case on that client's behalf. They may settle it before they ever file a lawsuit, or they may have to file a lawsuit against various responsible parties, and then litigate the case and go through discovery, which involves depositions and interrogatories, and retain experts, which can be very expensive in order to support this injured person's case, to prove it, in order to prove it at trial. And in the meantime, the injured person isn't paying for any of these fees. These fees are going to come out of the settlement, or be repaid in the settlement through the settlement amounts, or through the collection of the verdict. So the plaintiff's law firm, they either settle, or let's say it goes to trial, and they try this case for some number of weeks. It can be a very expensive uh, method of making money, because there's a lot of upfront costs, and there's no guarantee that the plaintiff's firm is going to recover any of those costs. There's no guarantee it'll settle. There's no guarantee that they'll win that lawsuit. There's no guarantee that the defendants are going to be able to pay them, even if they did win the lawsuit. So it's kind of a gamble, and it's called a contingency fee. And so, but let's say, you know, the plaintiff went to trial and won $1 million verdict. And let's say there's insurance companies there, and they're going to pay the $1 million. So then what does the plaintiff attorney get paid? The plaintiff's attorneys, they get paid, generally speaking, a third of that $1 million. So they're going to get $333,333, plus reimbursement of all the expenses involved in litigating the case. And then whatever's left over goes to the plaintiff. That sort of money making is it's highly contingent upon success in pursuing the case. These plaintiffs' firms could spend an enormous amount of money pursuing a case, and lose the trial and walk away with nothing. Um, Maybe even lose an appeal. Uh, and that can be an enormous hit and loss for plaintiff firm or plaintiff's attorney. And because there can be an enormous amount of upfront costs in pursuing plaintiff's cases, personal injury cases in particular. Plaintiff's attorneys and plaintiff's law firms need to have a war chest. A war chest, which is they have to have a lot of money set aside in the bank, or some sort of credit, the credit line perhaps that they have, so that they can finance the upfront costs of pursuing these lawsuits. Because the plaintiff is usually an unsophisticated person. They usually don't have a lot of money themselves. They can't pay all those costs. So it's the plaintiff's firm that's going to have to pay those costs up front, and then get reimbursed later if they want to pursue this person's case. And that can be very, very expensive. And you need a war chest to be able to finance these upfront costs while you're waiting for a settlement or to win a verdict. And so you got to have a war chest as a plaintiff's attorney to finance these cases. And that war chest can be sizable. It can cost a lot of money to pursue a case. It costs tens of thousands of dollars, even more, depending on how expensive the case is to sort of pursue. Some cases require a lot of experts, and a lot of expensive experts. Some cases not so much. They would be cheaper to pursue, like medical malpractice cases can be very expensive to litigate because you got to hire a lot of expensive doctors, and they can charge anywhere from $250 to even $1,000 an hour for their time. That's an expensive lawsuit to try and pursue. Or you could have much cheaper personal injury cases, slip and fall cases, auto accident cases, where you may not even have much of an expert in the case. Or maybe a cheap doctor or chiropractor gets involved. Those are much cheaper cases. But nonetheless, plaintiffs' firms and plaintiffs' attorneys, they do need a war chest to pursue these sorts of cases because the expenses have to be paid up front in order to pursue these cases. And if you're the attorney and you can't pay those upfront costs, then the case is going nowhere. You're probably committing malpractice, or you're going to have to farm it out to some other attorney who has that war chest. And again, it's contingency. You don't know where you're not sure you're going to make any money in the end. Maybe you hit it big, and you make a lot of money for yourself or your law firm, and maybe you don't. And maybe all you've done is accrued a lot in losses that you're never going to get back. So that's plaintiff's contingency work. Other sorts of plaintiff's work, or criminal defense work, maybe tax work. A lot of that can be done on what's called a retainer. And a retainer is where the attorney asks the client to give me a sum of money up front that I'll put in my trust account under your name, and I will draw from that amount of money as I accumulate expenses or attorney billing time working on what you want me to do. This is often the case in like criminal defense. The accused is asked to provide a retainer, and that might be $5,000-$10,000 up front, and the attorney puts it in his bank account, and as he works on that person's case in defending them, any of the attorney's bills gets paid by a withdrawal from that trust account of those retained funds in order to pay the bill. And in that case, the attorney would be charging a billable hour usually. So the attorney keeps track of how much time he or she has spent on this person's case, usually in increments of a tenth of an hour. And every month, usually there's a bill that goes out to this client, and then the money is taken out of the retainer. And at some point, maybe the retainer money is running out, and then the client's asked to put another retainer. I want another $5,000 or $10,000 to put in your account. Maybe. Attorneys can also be paid flat rate fees. There's no rule prohibiting that. So maybe the attorney says, "Look, I'll look at your real estate contract and attend the closing for a flat fee of $1,000." That's it. So you give him $1,000, and whatever legal work needs to be done, he'll do, and he won't ask you for any more than that. That's $1,000. That's it. I'll do the whole thing for $1,000. You won't get any money back, but you won't be asked to provide any more money. So that's another way lawyers get paid, can get paid. Now, in the law, there's an old saying that you should, as an attorney, you should always get paid first. And the reason for that is there are a lot of people out there who will try to get an attorney to work for free based on some sort of promise of payment in the future, which they never intend to do. Never. So, if you can convince a criminal defense attorney to defend you in this trial, and I'll pay you later, and he defends you in the trial, and let's say, you're victorious and you don't go to jail, and then he asks you, okay, pay me the $10,000, and you're like, oh, don't worry, the check is in the mail. And the check never arrives, and the attorney never gets paid. So, attorneys are wise to that sort of conduct. So they almost always demand payment up front because they know that once they do their legal services for you, they can't get that legal service back. You got the benefit of it, and there's a chance you won't pay them. And they don't want, they're in a business and they need to get paid. So they usually ask to be paid up front, and for good reason. Or maybe, maybe they did the work for you. Maybe they're defending you at a criminal trial, but you lost and you went to jail. But you still owe them the $10,000 like you promised, but you're not happy with the result because you're going to jail. You don't want to pay him. Oh, you didn't do a good job for me because I'm going to jail. Well, maybe he did do a good job for you. It's just that you were guilty and you're going to jail regardless. But you're not motivated to give him the $10,000. You're in jail. You're like, I'm not paying you. Sue me. So attorneys know that some people are like that. So they usually require payment up front, get paid first. Unless it's like a contingency fee case, a personal injury case. And there's, this is even a debate. The attorney already knows that he's going to get his 1/3 of the recovery. And that 1/3 is enforceable through the courts. So the attorney knows what's going to happen is if there's a settlement in your personal injury case, or let's say it goes to trial and you get a verdict in your favor as an injured party, and the insurance company or whoever pays the verdict, and a check is eventually written, for whatever the settlement or the verdict amount was. And let's say it's $1 million. $1 million check is going to be issued. Well, the payee on that check is going to be the attorney and the client. So the attorney's going to get a hold of that check. It's going to be sent to the attorney, and the attorney's going to put it in his trust account, and then he's going to disperse the funds, and he's going to pay himself, and then he'll pay you what you're entitled to. So it's not like you're going to get the $1 million and then you decide whether to give it to the attorney or not. No. That's not how it works. Check goes to the attorney, so the attorney knows he's going to get his 1/3 cut. So you can't play games and try to gyp the attorney out of his contingency fee. That's just not going to happen. And worst case scenario, the attorney can always go to the court or the judge and get an order making sure that he gets his 1/3 fee. So the judge is going to agree with him. provided he has his contingency fee agreement with you and you've signed it and everything. All the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But that's why the plaintiff's attorneys agree to these contingency fee arrangements, because they know they'll get paid. They know the check's coming to them ultimately, or that the court's going to support them, and the court is. The court is going to support them on that. The whole idea is, well, if you have a really good case, the attorney can make a lot of money. $1 million case, he can make $333,333 plus whatever your expenses are. They're going to get reimbursed. That's a lot of money for a case. It's gambling to some extent, but if you win, you can win big. And some of these cases can be way more than $1 million. The attorneys can make a fortune, but it's contingent. But that's why they take it. And they're also in competition with all the other plaintiffs' attorneys. And there's unbelievable numbers of plaintiffs' attorneys out there. You ever see all the ads for plaintiffs' law firms trying to get, are you injured? Call 1-800-ATTORNEY. They're all over the place. So there's lots of competition, and the rest of the competition, it's all going to be contingent fee. They're not going to require the injured party to pay any money up front. So the other attorneys have to fall in line with that competition, or they're going to lose out. They're going to lose your valuable case to some other attorney who's not going to require the plaintiff to pay anything up front. So that's generally how plaintiffs' law firms get paid. Now, on the other side, there's defense law firms, and defense law firms do that. They defend people, corporations who are being sued. And oftentimes, the defendant who's being sued has an insurance policy, and their insurance carrier is who is the one who ends up locating the defense attorney and pays the attorney's fees in defense of this particular person, this defendant. Sometimes it's a corporation that gets sued, or it's a corporate employee, and sometimes the corporation will actually pay the attorney's fees. But it's usually some sort of company, insurance company, corporation, who's paying the attorney's fees. And in that case, the attorney usually charges a billable hourly rate, and this is agreed upon in advance with the insurance company or the corporation who's paying for the defense of these individuals. And sometimes it's a public entity who's paying the hourly rate. Some state or federal official is being sued. That happens too. And the hourly rate could be anything. If it's an insurance company that's paying, the hourly rate is going to be pretty much rock bottom, the cheapest that you're going to get from an attorney. And the reason is because insurance companies have a lot of work to offer. And lawyers, if they agree to these lower hourly rates that the insurance companies are going to pay, the insurance company may feed them a lot of work. You can build a whole law firm off of the work of one insurance carrier, because these insurance carriers have tons of work, because their insureds are always getting sued. So because of that, that amount of work these insurance carriers can give an attorney, the attorney may very well be willing to cut their rate substantially, just to get this insurance company's constant business and cash flow. Same thing with corporations. It can happen that way as well. Corporations can get a lower rate because of the amount of work they have to offer. But attorneys' rates can vary to a great extent. Bigger law firms oftentimes have richer clients, bigger corporation clients who demand great expertise and wonderful results in defense of their lawsuits, and they're willing to pay a lot more, and they have the money to pay it to attorneys, and so the attorney's billable hour rate could be a lot higher than than what an insurance company might pay them. So, in law firms, there are attorneys called rainmakers, rainmakers, and that's not their official title. They're what they're actually usually called, or they're either partners, equity partners, meaning they own part of the business, or maybe they just they're sole proprietor. They own the entire business. Um, but not only are they attorneys, they are also good at bringing in clients, and the lifeblood of a law firm is the money that you can make from clients. If you don't have clients who pay, you don't have much of a law firm. There's nothing for anybody at the law firm to do, and you go out of business. So rainmakers have all the influence really in a law firm. Because they control the money, and they control the clients, and they control the money. The client likes them for some reason, whatever that is. This rainmaker has some connection with them, or maybe this client really likes them as a trial attorney and really trusts them handling their cases, and that's the person that they send the cases to, and that's the person they trust. So, how do these attorneys make money, these rainmakers? Well, as an attorney, you can bill your hourly rate. But you only have so many hours that you can sell as a person. You're only awake 24 hours out of the day. I'm not awake. There's only 24 hours in a day. That's it. So, and you're sleeping part of those hours. So maybe you're awake 16 hours. So the maximum number of hours you could bill in a day is 16 hours. But nobody's going to bill 16 hours. You can't possibly start billing the second you wake up in the morning and the second you go to sleep at night. So it's probably something less than that, maybe 10 hours a day, something like that. So you got these rainmakers, and they have this connection with some client who's got a lot of attorney business, and they say to themselves, well, I can only really bill for my own personal effort, maybe 10 hours a day. That's it. Even if I work 7 days a week, that's 70 hours a week, times 52 weeks a year. So let's say, 70 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. What's that? That's theoretically, if I worked every waking moment, well, not every waking moment, so 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is a lot. The most I could ever bill is 3,640 hours a year. And, what's my hourly rate? $200 an hour. So if I need $200 an hour, I work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, every week of the year. The most I could ever make off of my personal effort is $728,000. Now, that's a lot of money, right? Sure, that's a ton. So, off of their personal effort, these rainmakers can make an enormous amount of money just on their hourly rate alone. But the truth is, they can make a heck of a lot more than that. Let's say they know this client, and this client has a lot of work for attorneys. And let's say this client, they spend $5 million a year on attorneys. $5 million a year on attorneys. And this rainmaker, he has a connection where he can decide where this client spends that $5 million. Even if he worked like a dog, he's only making $728,000 a year. He's not getting that full $5 million. So he or she is thinking, well, I want to get this. How can I get this? So, how do you get that $5 million? All right, well, you use associates, or you use senior associates, or you use non-equity partners. What you do is you get other attorneys to work on this client's files, and you take a cut of their billables. That's how you get the $5 million, or close, more than this. So how do you do? How do you do that? Well, they got $5 million to spend, but that's going to take more than one attorney. Let's say this $5 million is over. You got 10 attorneys could be working all year on this client's legal matters. It's too much work for just one attorney, so this guy just can't get the whole $5 million himself. But 10 attorneys could get it. So what's this guy's problem? This guy's problem is, well, I need 10 attorneys, right? So he could go out and hire 10 associates to work on this $5 million, and then take a cut of all those associates' billables, and he can get a lot of this $5 million by doing that. But 10 associates, that's a lot of people to hire. Maybe he doesn't want to take that risk. Does he know he's going to get this $5 million every year? Because clients can be very fickle. They can, one day wake up and decide they don't want you anymore. Bam, you're gone. And they're giving the $5 million to some other law firm. It's a cheaper law firm. Some law firm that has a rainmaker who's got a better connection than this rainmaker. So maybe he doesn't want to open up his law firm and hire 10 associates. So what does he do? He goes to a big law firm. The law firm that has 10 associates, or 10 senior associates, or non-equity partners who can work on this guy's files. So he goes to the law firm. He says, look, I got this client. He's got $5 million worth of work. I can't handle it all myself, but I want to make money off of it. You guys have got tons of associates here. Why don't I come to your law firm? You give me a cut of whatever these associates make off of my client, and you take something, and we can all make money. So the law firm's like, great! You got a $5 million book of business. We love you. Come on in. We got room for you. So this guy goes to that big law firm, becomes one of their rainmaker partners because he's got this $5 million book of business. He farms out the work to various associates in that law firm. Associates work on it, bill this client, and this guy gets a cut of what these associates bill. And so he makes a lot more. This is $728,000, a lot of money. That's something to sneeze at. But see, this guy can make a lot more than that by going to this, becoming a partner at this law firm, using these 10 attorneys as essentially a multiplier effect. So this guy's only got so many hours in a year that he could possibly bill. But if he gets other attorneys working on those files and he's getting a cut, he's getting a multiplier based on the number of attorneys that are working on it. And that's how a lot of these rainmakers make a lot of money. It's this multiplier effect by associates or senior associates or non-equity partners working on their clients' files. So, instead of just one attorney working on it, he's got 10 attorneys working on it, It's got a multiplier effect. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Multiplier. All those attorneys working on those files, and he's getting a cut. He's getting a cut of the billables from all these attorneys. It's a multiplier effect. You can make 10 times as much. 10 times as much in the sense of whatever his cut is, because he's going to have to pay something to the big law firm to be able to do this, because he's using their employees essentially. They're sharing these employees to do the same thing. Those rainmakers are probably doing the same thing he is. So multiplier effect. He makes a lot more money. And in fact, if you got 10 attorneys working on your client's $5 million legal um, budget, there's really no need for you to work at all, is there? You can make all the money you need to make just off of the backs of the associates and this multiplier effect. You don't have to do anything at all. You just sit back and watch, and you're going to make all this money. And in fact, that's what happens. A lot of these rainmakers, you'll see them sitting in their office all day doing nothing. They may look like they're doing something, but they're really not. They're going to be on the phone talking, maybe trying to get more clients. Because the truth is, they've got all these guys working for them, making money for them. They really don't have to do anything but sit back and watch these guys work and make money for them, and pressure these guys to work harder. Now, the client may really like this particular attorney for some reason, so this attorney has to keep tabs on what these guys are doing to his client's files. And so maybe this attorney is the one that talks to the client. Or ultimately, if there's a trial, maybe this is the attorney who tries the case for his client. But everything else these guys are doing. And he's sitting back doing nothing. That's why you see a lot of rainmakers in law firms sitting at their desk doing nothing, just with their feet up, just relaxing, because they're working this multiplier effect. So, a lot of attorneys, the ones who are in it just for the money, and there's a lot of those. A lot of attorneys just went to law school for one reason: to make money. That's it. So some of a lot of these guys they're just focused on the client, getting the client, and getting the associates who are working on their files to work really, really hard, bill as much as possible, so that they can make as much as possible. Now, how much should these associates get paid, right? Well, the truth is that it's whatever the market will bear. So there's lots of law firms out there, and they're all offering associates starting salaries or salaries commensurate with their experience if they want to get a lateral hire from one associate from one firm to another firm. So there's a general range that associates should get paid. But there's no hard and fast rule about that. However, you may run into some attorney who has some rule of thumb on what associates should get paid. Now, this is nonsense. It's nonsense. What an associate should get paid is based on whatever the market will bear. But you may hear this. So you may hear from an attorney that, well, I spoke to my accountant, and my accountant said that an associate should get 1/3. And the other third should go to the partner. And the final third is for administrative expenses like rent, overhead, secretaries, things like that. So you may hear some nonsense like this. And the attorney may very well act on this. the associate may very well only get a third of the bills. So, you can have a situation where based on the attorney's, the associate's salary, the associate's getting paid $50 an hour, let's say, and the partner is getting $100 an hour because the partner gets this third plus the partner owns the firm. So they're also getting this third. So they're getting $100 an hour. And this partner may think that this is fair, right? Is it fair? Yeah, well, he's getting twice as much as the associate based on what the associate's work, but he doesn't have to lift a finger to get this. So you make your own judgments about whether that's fair or not, but it seems incredibly excessive to me. For every dollar this guy bills or makes from his billing, this guy gets $2 for doing nothing. Essentially, these rainmakers are finders of work. This is really a finder's fee, essentially, except he owns the law firm. And because he owns the law firm and he's the rainmaker with the connections to the client, he can make a lot more money than, let's say, a legal recruiter might make. Although essentially they're really the same thing. It's a finder's fee for work as far as the associate's concerned. The partner's the one who found the work for the associate. If he goes to a legal recruiter, it's the legal recruiter who finds the work for the associate. So, is this fee excessive? Well, it sure seems like it's excessive when you compare it to what legal recruiters charge. So you see how an attorney can be very motivated to become a rainmaker because he or she can sit back and make multipliers of what he otherwise would make on his own effort, and he doesn't have to do anywhere near the amount of work that the associate has to do, and he could be making 10 times as much as the associate, even more, just because he has this rainmaker connection. It's got nothing to do with the law. Being a rainmaker has to do with marketing and schmoozing abilities, networking skills, who you happen to know. Do you know some wealthy people? Maybe you're related to some wealthy people, and that's what determines the rainmaker's salary. It's not his legal skill, not at all. It's not even related to legal skill. It's just a completely different area. So this rainmaker partner who owns his law firm may say to this associate, "Look, I'm taking 2/3. I'm taking 66.66% of every dollar that's made off of this client of mine. 2/3. 2/3. And then I'll pay you the other third." That's an awfully high fee for an associate to pay to have somebody who can find work for them. That's a lot. And this 2/3, this goes on for every year that this associate is working under this rainmaker for the same client. Or maybe the rainmaker has other clients. That's a lot of money that associate has to give up to this guy simply because he's a rainmaker. That's how law firms work. And these rainmaker attorneys, wow, they know this, and they're like, I You make 2/3. So that's their main interest. Their main interest is making money. Their main interest is not being your friend, or being some sort of collegiate legal um, star or something like that. It's the money. It's the money. You make 2/3. They can make a killing in these law firms. And if you're an associate, that's why you're there, so that they can make a killing. That's what it's about. Don't make the mistake of thinking as an associate that it's about you. It's not. Or about, getting connections and being friends with this guy. He doesn't want to share this with you. This is his baby. And he's not going to share it in all likelihood. And he may be friendly to you, but he's not your friend. He's in it for the money. Don't kid yourself. It's about the money. A legal recruiter, what's the fee of a legal recruiter? No, legal recruiter finds some attorney a job somewhere, and the legal recruiter might charge 25% of the first year's salary. Just the first year. Second year, he doesn't get any money. 25% of the first year. This is a lot less than what the rainmaker is planning to make off of you. A lot less. But the legal recruiter may get you a job in a law firm. So he gets you a job at the rainmaker. So the legal recruiter takes his cut, and then the rainmaker's taking his cut. All right? Everybody's taking their cut. If you're an associate and you're not a rainmaker and you don't have your own clients, there are tons of attorneys and other people standing in line ready to take their cut out of your labor because you don't have clients, and that's what they're experts at getting for you. He's an expert at getting clients. This guy's an expert at finding people who have clients who could use your work. There's no end to the number of these guys who are just sitting there waiting to make a lot of money off your labor. So remember who you're dealing with and why they're doing what they're doing. That's what they are. This guy may have no interest in the law whatsoever. He may not even like practicing law, but he likes this, man. And this is what it's all about for him. If you own your own law firm and you can get your own clients, then you don't have to give the lion's share of the profits that you make off your own labors to these people. And that's by far a better idea for you. It's just that it's a lot harder to do because rainmaking skills are not lawyer skills. Networking, marketing, this is a completely different realm of skill. So you may not be good at it or not be practicing it. Maybe you want to hire some sort of consultant to start teaching you how to become a rainmaker. Or if you're lucky, maybe some law firm you work at will actually teach you something along those lines. They generally don't because they have no interest in you getting your own clients because you're working on their clients. You're making money for them. Why would anybody want you to get clients if you can make money for yourself? They don't want to spend money on developing your ability to make money. That's not what it's about for them. But if you were smart, maybe you'd do that yourself. So what are these rainmakers interested in? Besides making as much money as they possibly can, right? So the rainmaker, he's looking to have associates work on his files and build a client so he gets the multiplier effect and he makes a lot more money. the most important thing to the rainmaker is his relationship with the client. A good paying client. He wants to maintain that at all costs because that's how he makes his enormous salary. So, what does he want out of an associate? Well, first off, he wants an associate who will agree to bill his client a lot and will only take, let's just say, a third. So what's he looking for in an associate? He's looking for somebody who's only going to take a third. He'll say, okay, I agree, I'll only take a third. Great! The rainmaker makes 2/3. All right. So what's the second thing? The associate is willing to bill a lot of hours. And in these law firms are constantly trying to push associates and senior associates and non-equity partners into working as many hours as they possibly can, so they can bill these clients as much as they possibly can. And they do this by creating an atmosphere of intimidation, where these associates are always in fear of losing their jobs, and they do that by criticizing them and pressuring them to work late at night and early in the morning and on the weekends. And the threat is, well, you don't do this, you're gonna get fired. Like, Bill down the hallway just got fired last week. So they always make examples of people, so to put everybody in fear. So because ultimately they just want the associates to work as hard as they possibly can because they want the hours. They want to make as much money off the client as possible. So that's their motivation. They don't care about your mental health, really. They'll put you in a state of constant fear, that like you're on eggshells constantly, because you're going to work harder. It's a terrible thing to do to human beings. I mean, it's immoral. You don't care about people when you do that sort of thing. But that's what they do in law firms because they know that these associates are going to work a lot harder, bill a lot more, and they're going to make more money. And they don't care about the associates. They just don't. They're just cogs in the money-making machine that is the law firm itself. A cog burns out. Get rid of it. We'll hire a new cog. A lot of these law firms, they have revolving doors. People getting fired, people getting hired constantly. You see in the legal papers, some of these big firms have ads constantly. Is it because they just keep getting more and more and more? No, it's because they're firing people and they're replacing them. They want, for whatever reason. So, the job you get with Acme Law Firm today might be the very job that Joe Smith lost last week. Associate Joe Smith lost last week, and that's the truth. So, what do they want an associate? They want. Are you going to take that 1/3? Are you going to bill all those hours? Right. What else do they want? Does the client like you? Does the client like the associate's work? That's really important because the rainmaker wants to keep the client because the client is how the rainmaker makes his enormous salary. So he doesn't want an associate screwing up that client relationship. He cares more about the client probably than he cares about his mom. He doesn't care about the associate, so the associate better not screw up that relationship with that client. And if that client even gives a sense that they're not particularly happy with this associate, that associate's not going to be working on those files anymore because the rainmaker isn't going to risk losing the client and that golden goose just for some associate. So does the client like the associate? That's a big deal. So the client has to agree to pay this associate's hourly rate. So the client better like the associate. Otherwise, the client won't pay the associates hourly rate, and the rainmaker won't make any money. And he's going to have to get another associate that the client likes. So this is another thing that the rainmaker wants from an associate. So the three things that the rainmaker wants from an associate is: are you going to agree to, let me pay you basically as little as possible? You're going to take only the third and let me keep the 2/3. Can I push you into working ridiculous hours? Because the more hours you bill, the more money I make. And third, does the client like you? Are you going to get along with this client? Because I'm not going to lose this client because of you, buddy. This is my golden goose. This is how I make my fortune. Client better like you. Does the client like you? Will the client accept your billables? And if any of those three things change during the course of the years while this associate's working there, that associate could be out the door. Or maybe some other rainmaker uses that associate instead, and there's some sort of transfer. But generally speaking, in these law firms, you're working for one particular rainmaker, and if for any reason, this associate's not hitting one of those three things, is not hitting all three of those things constantly, that associate's going to be fired. It's going to be shown the door, because rainmaker is not going to risk losing the client for an associate. The associate's just a cog. The client is the goose that laid the golden egg. And it's all about the money for these rainmakers. It is. It's about the money. They may tell you it's about, I'm a legal professional. It's about the profession and being a great lawyer, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not true. That's just a line they sell you. Truth is, it's about the money. Plain and simple. So, in a nutshell, that's the deal with how lawyers and law firms make money. Oftentimes law firms are having they're getting new clients all the time. The rainmakers are often in the process of constantly getting new clients. Maybe old clients have left, or they want to pay less than they have been paying, or maybe they don't pay on time, or they're not as reliable as they used to be, or maybe they go bankrupt. But often in these law firms, there's this sort of constant inflow of new clients and outflow of old clients. And rainmakers are often in the process of constantly trying to obtain these golden gooses, because that's where they make their money. And if they're not, if they lose their client and they lose their golden geese, the rest of the law firm is going to be like, well, why are you here? We're not making the money we used to be making off of your clients. So they may show that partner the door. Or maybe that partner thinks, this law firm, they're taking too much of my money. I could make more going to another law firm. So I'm going to transfer my whole group of attorneys that are working on my client's file. I'm going to go to another law firm because they're going to pay me more. They're going to let me keep more billables off of this client. Or maybe the attorney's like, I don't need these guys at all. I'm just going to open up my own law firm. I'm going to make all my money, and I get to keep more because I don't have to share it with the other partners in the law firm. In law firms, whatever the problem is or the argument is, it's usually about the money. Usually about the money. I think that's enough about that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the comment section, and maybe I'll do a future video on them and address them or answer you in the comments below. And please press the subscribe button below. I appreciate it. Take care, guys.